Have you ever shied away from the big stage or small ones for that matter? Or maybe the thought of going on camera has you shaking in your boots. But you know that the next level of your impact, influence, and even your revenue lies in your ability to speak. And so here's the thing, you might feel that you lack the confidence to take the stage, whether the stage is a live stage or the stage is a virtual stage, or you are unsure that the message that you want to share will land with your audience. Or maybe you are challenged with not having a talk structure that would allow you to show up confidence even when you don't have any notes. Well, I'm here to tell you, I get it. I understand. I have been there. And today we are going to talk about the power of PDR. So I know many of you have probably seen the title of today's Facebook Live, today's Social Media Saturdays episode, and you're probably wondering to yourself, what is PDR? So I did not say PDA, I said PDR, which is power, drill, and rehearse. And why PDR is the secret sauce to building your confidence. So, welcome to Social Media Saturdays. I am your host, Taria Hodge, and this is a place where you come to learn how to serve, share, and shine. And what I do each Saturday is share real strategies designed to fuel your business, capture your authentic message in the marketplace, and position you as an influencer. So in true Social Media Saturdays form, if you are out there and you can see me and you can hear me, do me a favor, drop a comment into the comment section and let me know, Taria, I could see you, Taria, I could hear you, and we are going to get this party bus rocking and rolling this morning. Also, as you join the broadcast, I want to know where my superstars are watching from. And so if you are watching across the US, just go ahead, drop your city, drop your state. Let me know where you are tuning in from this morning so I could go ahead and give you a shout out. If you are tuning in from across the world, we have superstars that join us every Saturday and they join us globally. Just go ahead and drop a comment and let me know where you are watching from. And I can't forget my Caribbean peeps. I'm going to soon be there. So if you are hailing from an island nation, go ahead and drop which island nation you are watching from this morning. And I see that Diana is out there this morning. Great morning, Diana. Diana is hailing from Ottawa, Canada. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining in on this episode of Social Media Saturdays. We are going to have some fun today, Diana. We are talking about PDR, the power of practice, drilling, and rehearsing. And I have to say that I have a special guest with me this morning. And so I can't wait to introduce her. Now, before we get the show rolling, I'm also going to ask, as you join the broadcast, do me a favor, let me know who you serve in your business. So who do you serve in your business? How do you serve in your business? And how we can connect with you. Now, this is one of the things that I do each and every episode. Why do I do this? I do this because I love the virtual networking that happens when we are live, and also the virtual networking that happens after, in our Serve, Share, Shine community during the week. Okay. And so here's the thing, we won't know who you serve and how we can connect with you unless you tell us. So look below the video in the comment section. Just go ahead and put who you serve, and how we can connect. Okay. And then lastly, there's a little button that's called the share button. Go ahead and hit the share button below, because I promise you, we are going to have an amazing conversation today. And I'm going to share, a little piece or bits and pieces of my journey, okay, in getting from behind the scenes to in front of the camera. So I've made a commitment in the past year and a half or so to go after more speaking engagements and be more out front. Okay. And let me tell you, boy, what a journey it has been. And so I'm willing to, I always promise, my promise is always to be transparent and authentic and share, not only the good things, but sometimes also the challenging things. And what I know, there is a lot of superstars out there who speaking is your next level. It is the thing, that's gonna take your business like to the next level, but you might have some apprehension. There might be some blockers there. And so we are going to talk a little bit about that today. Okay. So make sure you hit the share button and invite your business bestie, invite another colleague to come in on the broadcast and participate in this conversation today. Okay. And also, just to let my superstars know, we are still in the middle of our promotions for our Unleash the Power of Your Story program. Okay. So I want to say congratulations to all of our superstars and all of our super achievers who have, registered to join this round of webinars. So we are doing the Magnetize and Monetize the Virtual Stage webinar. We have two more webinar sessions coming up. Saturday, November 6th, which will actually take the place of our social media Saturdays next Saturday. So next week, no social media Saturdays, we will be hosting a webinar. And so we're offering Magnetize and Monetize the Virtual Stage. And that webinar will be hosted at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you knew or know that you want to join us and you missed us on the last two webinar opportunities, we're giving you the opportunity to join us again on Saturday, November 6th. And then the final session will be on Monday, November 8th at 7 p.m. I do believe it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I also want to say big kudos and congratulations to those of you who have entered into our contest. So one of the things that I announced a few Saturdays ago, a couple Saturdays, we are running a contest. And for our contest, we are actually giving away 2 all-access passes to 2 lucky individuals who participate in sharing out the Magnetize and Monetize the Virtual Stage webinar. Okay, and so the all access passes will be for you to join our 2-day training, which is the Unleash the Power of Your Story, which is being hosted on November 12th and November 13th. So I'm going to make sure that I add the information to the bottom of the screen that will give you the opportunity, if you have not registered as yet for the webinar, you still have the opportunity to do so. Okay, so I do believe the link is going across the screen, and also in the description of the video, the link is in the description of the video as well. And so, like I said, I'm super excited to be able to sit down and have this conversation today. I have a special guest, and we're going to talk a little bit about PDR, the power of practice, drill, and rehearse, and why it's the secret sauce to building your self-confidence. And so for those of you out there who are watching, I'm just going to ask you, how many of you, are a little shy or a little intimidated when it comes to speaking? And whether that's speaking on a live stage, a big stage, a small stage, a virtual stage, let me know if that's something that you know that you need to do in your business, but you've been shying away from it. So we're going to talk a little bit about some things that will be able to help you, overcome, those fears. But without any further ado, I would like to introduce our special guest. So our special guest this morning has over 15 plus years of experience as a licensed professional counselor, and she is also a certified life coach and health coach. She also understands human behaviors and how negative beliefs get started and get in your way. Now, what she does is she helps people discover the root cause of their overeating, learn to identify the associations you have made between food and emotions, and identify ineffective strategies you have adopted around things like eating. Now, what I love about her is that she helps you to realize that diet and exercise programs only focus on actions rather than the underlying cause, which are your thoughts and your habits. So please help me welcome Peggy Dunn. All right, great morning, Peggy. How are you?
Good morning. I am doing great. How are you this morning?
I am doing fine. I am so excited to sit down and have this conversation with you today. I have to let our superstars know, and I see that Diana is out there this morning, so you can say hi to Diana.
Hi, Diana.
Yes, and Diana is also saying that she's nervous when it comes to speaking. She's nervous before she gets started. And, when I thought about putting together the episode, this show's episode, like I thought about you and I said, oh my gosh, Peggy would be the perfect person, to bring on and sit down and unpack this conversation with. So for our superstars who don't know, Peggy is one of our freestyle graduates. So Peggy has joined us on our Unleash the Power of Your Story 2-day training and continue on onto our freestyle training. And I have to say, Peggy, it has been such a joy to work with you and to watch the growth over the past few months. So I remember when Peggy came in, Peggy was that student, that says, oh my gosh, I know this is what I need to do, but I have no idea how to get started. It's nerve wracking and I need some help.
That sums it up beautifully. Yes.
And to be able to watch you grow and see you do some amazing things. And I talk about, you're like one of the students that I talk about every time you drop a video inside of a practice group. I was just like, whoa, she's blowing me away. Is that the same Peggy? By the time the program, I have to tell the superstars, by the time the program ended, I was just like, is that the same Peggy that started 6 months ago? Totally, totally, totally different person, right? Confidence level up here. And
Yes.
it's just been a joy. It's just been a joy to watch you. And so, one of the first things that I wanted to, share with my superstars before we get into our conversation today, like this thing about public speaking and the fear around public speaking, like it is so real. And I know for me on my journey, I spent the majority, of my entrepreneurial journey behind the scenes because I was that person, who was afraid to step out front, and take the stage. And I've attempted, several times to take the stage, disastrous, but is the thing that, after I got to a certain part in my business, I realized that my business can't grow or it won't grow unless I take this step. And so the commitment was to move from behind the scenes and get in on the other side of the camera in order to building my business. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you to share what a little background about what your journey into speaking has been like for you.
Wow. I can so relate to that fear of public speaking. I've always dreamed of having my own business, but didn't know what to have. And I spent 20, 30 years avoiding speaking
Hmm.
because I was so deathly afraid. One, I wasn't sure what my message was. And to be in front of a camera or even just people, it was like terrifying. So I wasn't even sure I knew what my message was. And over the years, I help professionals overcome emotional eating.
Hmm.
And I've had my own journey. And as I was losing weight, people were like, "What did you do?" And so it made me realize I did have a message. I just had no idea how to share that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I found that I knew I needed to speak because whether I did it online or offline, it was going to be necessary to build a business.
Yeah.
So I took different things and I joined the freestyle program. You talk about how different I am from the beginning to the end. I'm
Yes.
like, I don't even feel like the same person because I spent
Right.
15 years avoiding this.
Yeah.
But you helped in joining this program, you helped me pull out the lessons from my message. So it it helped me clarify my message
Yeah.
and to share that message.
No, I
It,
was gonna say we're gonna talk about that because I think that that's the like that's the biggest thing, right? Like you just said it. A lot of times we know we want to speak, or we might have that tug on the inside of our heart when it comes to speaking, but we're not sure of what the message is, right? We're not
right.
sure if the things that we have inside of us to share are the things that our audience want to hear. So I'm just going to ask you to share a little bit about what the journey was like for you identifying your brand story, because that was the first step, getting clear on the story.
Yes, it helped me uh, clarify my message in terms of what were my experiences that I went through.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, I know those because I went through them. But then you helped me pull out the lessons
Yeah.
that would enable me to help others go through this journey successfully. So it was very exciting to be able to clarify that.
Yeah.
And then you enabled me to be able to start sharing that.
Yeah.
That was one of that practice, drill, and rehearse that you mentioned was key. You provided such a safe environment
Yeah.
that I laugh when I still look at my first videos to where I'm at now, and it's like, that is a different person. Oh, that's
Yeah.
me. It's like, how awesome is that?
Yeah, and it's one of the things that we talk about, having the practice community, right? It's one of the things that I wish when I started, years ago, that I had a safe space to practice, and I didn't have a safe space, right? What I realized, or what I knew, is that just like everything else, it's like riding a bike, right? So you go out there, you try to ride the bike for the first time, you don't know what you're doing, you're going to fall, you're going to get bumps, you're going to get bruises, but the key is not to stop. Right, so you continue. And I'm saying this, and it reminds me of my daughter, because that's how my daughter, when she got her bike, she was so adamant that she didn't want any training wheels on the bike, and she was ready to go, 5 years old, on the bike. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna get hurt. And she was just like, no. I think she fell that day like 5 times on that bike, but she did not stop. She continued going. And by the end of the day, she mastered, riding the bike. Okay. And I kind of look at, speaking or anything else that we do the same way. So in the beginning, when you do it, you're not going to know what to do. It's going to be messy. There's going to be a lot of blunders. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, like myself, we make those mistakes like in public. So I remember I tell people, when I started social media Saturdays, it wasn't that I desired to have, a show, right? I just wanted to understand the mechanics of how video marketing worked, because video marketing just came onto the scene. People were starting to do webinars. We had platforms like Periscope. I think when we started out as a webinar platform first. Okay. So I tell people it's 5 years now that the show is going, 5, 6 years. So we started out as a webinar platform. Okay. So I got accustomed to, learning how to set up the technicalities and everything of doing webinars, still afraid of the camera. Okay. Then I think Periscope and Blab came onto the scene, and then we shifted the platform over there. And I tell people that was like a very open platform because I'm nervous, I'm unsure if the things that I'm sharing are the things that my audience want to hear and how to deliver it in a way that help them. And it was very scary to be able to do that in front of audiences of people that you didn't know, people from all over the world that I had no connection with, would tune in and watch social media Saturdays, like nerve wracking. Okay. And then I remember, some of my first videos when you talk about looking at where you started and where you are now, like you've collapsed your time frame in a matter of months. It took me years to collapse my time frame. Like all my old videos, I had to go back to YouTube and pull them down. When I tell you horrible videos, yeah, like no lighting,
Totally get it. Totally.
just all sorts of crazy stuff. But, the thing was, I knew, right, that I couldn't stop. And if I stopped, then, I would just make the learning curve a whole lot, longer, you know? And so I love that, when Suzanne and I took a look at this program, one of the things that we said that we wanted to do was to be able to create that safe space that would allow people to practice, okay, practice, drill, and rehearse, because that's the thing that we know that's missing. And I see it a lot of times with especially new speakers, like they want to go after the speaking opportunities. Okay. And unfortunately, and I've heard my mentor say this too. Unfortunately, when they get the opportunity to speak on a stage, that's where they practice. And it shouldn't be. Okay. It should be when you show up on the stage, you show up on the stage as the expert that you are. But the question remains, how do you get the practice in? So what are some of the things that you can do, to create that practice environment? So when you do get the speaking opportunity, whether it's a fee to speak or non-fee to speak opportunity, that you're able, to capitalize and maximize on the opportunity. But we're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later. So one of the things that I want you to share with our audience is what it was like, actually coming through, the practice community and having the support of other members in the community.
It was quite honestly a game changer because you're right. I didn't want to practice in real life, so to speak, where I'm trying to get clients or whatever and blowing it all out, just bombing it. And the having that safe space because you gave such constructive advice, criticism that allowed me to gain confidence, allowed me to take those suggestions and incorporate them into the next speech so that it got to be a little bit better and to be able to pull that apart so that I could. You provided a structure that allowed me to have freedom within.
Mhm.
And it's amazing how that just shot my confidence up. I have a confession. I'm
Okay.
actually now looking forward to speaking. I'm like, that is a miracle. I'm the one who 20, 30 years of avoiding it to where can I go find a place to speak? I'm like, I'm excited about it. Still a little nervous, I admit, but I'm
Yeah.
excited.
And I think that that's the shift right there, and so one of the things that I tell myself, like, the nervousness never goes away, right? But it's how to kind of shift the nervousness, because experts say, like, the body doesn't know the difference between nervous and excited, so it's all about how you think about it, but it's normal. So I think, even for some of our superstars out there watching, if you're thinking like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, I'm nervous, and you will, the sign of you being ready is that the nervousness goes away. So I'm here to say, no, it doesn't go away. I still get nervous even when I do the show. I tell people, even when I do, so do the show, even though I've been doing it for years now, I do it every Saturday. Like, oh my gosh, I still get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why. People are like, what? You get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do a Facebook Live? Yes, because I'm still a little bit nervous, right? But that's okay. It's quite okay. But it's a thing where, like you said, the excitement, because like, it's your next level. And that's the thing. A lot of times, we're out there, we are great in what we do. We are the expert, okay? And people are out there waiting, to work with us, but they have no idea that we exist. And so when we talk about incorporating, speaking into your business model, it's the opportunity for you to do, a couple of things. Number one, build awareness for your brand, right? So people, like you said, there's coaches out there that people are dying to work with. People need the help, but how do you identify, which person is your person? How do you identify the person who's going to take you along the journey? Well, here's the thing. Like, if you don't show up, and I say it all the time, you don't show up and you don't shine, then your light will never get out there into the world to attract your divine clients, because they would have no idea that you exist. And so that's why I talk about hiding all the time. So a lot of times, we are hiding, but what are the things that cause us, to hide? And the minute we start to identify those things, then we're able to show up more powerfully in our space. So I have to let our audience know that we received a call from one of our mentors. So you and I, we have a mentor in common, which is Lethea. And Lethea said, oh my gosh, I had the opportunity to work with Peggy and record her video, and I didn't even know who Peggy, I didn't know that Peggy. I was familiar with another Peggy, but the Peggy that showed up that day, I didn't know who that Peggy was. So can you share with us a little bit about that experience? Because that experience speaks exactly to the talk structure and why it's important to have a talk structure.
Oh, that talk structure literally saved me because I remember I'm trying to write this speech and all, and I was so nervous that I just got up on the stage and I drew a complete blank. And all of a sudden, I thought, talk structure. Okay, I know my story. So I was able to start, and then it just started flowing smoothly. I mean, I was up there. I was so happy I could get off the stage because my legs were literally like rubber. But I was like, okay, I got this structure. And the beauty is, it wasn't a memorized speech.
Hmm.
I tried to memorize it, and I'm like, the night before, I gave it up because it's like, I am never going to memorize this long of a speech. And so I just follow the structure, and
Yeah.
it flowed beautifully. And it gave me the freedom to to participate with the audience.
Yes.
That's what was amazing, because you try to give this memorized speech, and I'm okay, I'm up here doing the speech, and it's like, no, I get to play with the audience. So I can go in this direction and then come back and go in this direction and come back, because that structure gave me the freedom to do that, which while I was still nervous with the rubbery legs. I was ahead the confident, so I was able to look confident,
Yeah.
even though it was like my very first speech ever on stage. And I'm like, wow, what a difference this made. I personally wish I had discovered this program years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and Peggy, and I have to say, I could identify too, right? Because I've had times where I have, taken the stage, couple of things. You have your PowerPoint, and I don't know about anybody else, but PowerPoints really don't work for me. And here's why they don't work for me. I'm always that person who seemed to run ahead of the PowerPoint. Does that happen to anybody else? Like, you have a PowerPoint, you know the stuff that's on your slide, but you get so caught up in talking and sharing and doing presenting all that stuff. By the time you remember, because that's what it is, I forgot I have PowerPoint. By the time you remember you have a PowerPoint, I'm like always 3 slides ahead of you know of the slide that the PowerPoint is on, right? And so I had the opportunity to speak at Audacious Faith a few weeks ago, and it was so funny because I was just like, should I put together a PowerPoint? And I'm just gonna be totally honest, like, I waited because I had the talk structure. So let me just say this: I had the talk structure, and I practice and rehearsed and drill and all of that stuff without the PowerPoint. And then the nervousness hit me, right? So like the night before, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm not, what if I get up there? Same thing. What if I get up there and what if I blank, right? So let me just go ahead and put together a PowerPoint. I put together the PowerPoint. Like literally submitted the PowerPoint to the team. Lord, please don't. I'm hoping that they don't watch this part of the video. Got it in there like the same day, right? And I got on the stage and I got my clicker. So if you watch me, I got the clicker in my hand and I tapped it and it went all the way to the end. Now I'm already on stage. And so I have a choice now. The choice is, do I rely on what I know, which is a talk structure, or do I stand there and fumble with the clicker and the PowerPoint? So I said, no, I have a talk structure. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go with the talk structure. And when I tell you, like you said, the structure allows you to create so much freedom because it was literally the first time, Peggy, that I've stood on a stage and literally had fun with the audience. Usually I'm in my head, I'm nervous, I'm worried about my accent, I'm worried about all kinds of stuff. Did I leave the stove on that morning? All kinds of stuff is going through my head. That's how nervous, I had a tendency to be. But this time, because I knew I had the structure was my safety net. And I was able to engage with the audience. I had fun. I fielded questions, connected with not only the audience in person, but audience online, and it was really, truly amazing, to be able to do that. And just like you, I wish I had, that type of structure years ago, when I started. So the structure really does create freedom.
It really does. It allows you to play with it.
Hmm.
And like I said, it made it enjoyable.
Hmm.
It didn't take away the nervousness because I personally think that nervousness is actually beneficial because it
Yeah.
uh, heightens the awareness and the energy, if you will. And now you can play with the audience and
Yeah.
know where it naturally leads you because you know the structure. And so if you get lost, that's okay. Come back to the structure. This is the next thing you want to do. And then you know the story because you lived it.
Yeah.
So the combination was dynamite.
Yeah. And I like what you're sharing because that is it. So a lot of times we get nervous and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves because we're trying to memorize, this 45-minute talk, this long thing, or we have a PowerPoint, and I promise you the PowerPoint is at least 60, 70 slides. Okay. And you're trying to memorize all the data and all the stats and everything that go with each slide. And, sometimes you put too much wording on the slide, and then you notice that your audience, they aren't paying attention to you because they're busy writing everything down that's on the slide. It's like disastrous and it's nerve-wracking, right? But when you take a look at having the structure and knowing the structure, you just have to remember the structure. And then once you remember the structure, you know where everything falls, inside of the structure. And so it allows you to play, it allows you to have fun. And one of the things that, and we're talking about being able to practice, drill, and rehearse. So I'm going to ask you if this is true for you, and how freeing is this? So one of the things that I realized as, I continued practicing, my keynote, every time I said the keynote or did the video on the keynote, practice the keynote, it was never the same.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
was never the same. And I love it. Like when we do our webinars, the webinars are never exactly the same. It's always something different that the audience, is going to walk away with, depending on what their needs are. So for you, how was that experience for you?
It was, again, very freeing because it I've attended speeches before. I have some favorite speakers, and it's like after a year or two, it's like, okay, I'm done with that because it's the exact same speech every
Mhm,
time.
mhm.
I'm like, I know what he's going to say. But within this structure, because it gives me the freedom to play with the audience, I still have my main teaching points, but I'm able to share them now in a way that the audience can relate to because I know to emphasize this point and not this one so much. I see by their reaction, let's uh, they're more playful, so let's have a little more fun with it. Or they really need to understand this particular point. So it allows me that freedom again so that one, I don't get tired of speaking because it's different every time. You
Yeah,
don't get tired of listening because it's different every time.
yeah.
So I
Yeah,
absolutely love that.
yeah, and it's and and the point that you're making is such a good point, that it's different every time, because it's one of being in this space and working, with clients, right? It's one of the things that I realize that people like get bored with their own content.
Mm,
Okay. And so they're like, oh my gosh, do I have to say the same thing over and over and over again? And they don't want to. And I found myself like saying, well, here's the thing. Even though it's your content, you say the same thing, over and over. There are people out there who's hearing it from you for the first time, right? Because that's
right.
what I've been taught. But just to imagine being able to get to the place where you could feed, off of the audience. And so even though the story that you're going to share, because you have the brand story, or you have stories that are relevant to the lessons that you're going to share, and the lessons that you're going to share, how you deliver those things, how you say those things, or even if you need to go deep in one point, or shorten another point depending on the need of the audience, is so key. And those are the things, those are the components that break the monotony, of the talk up. And so, like you said, I've been there where I have my favorite speakers too. And after I've seen them on stage one or two times, or I hear them, like I know exactly word for word verbatim what they're going to
Mhm.
share, because it's the same story, the same words, and it's almost like it's memorized or it's canned. Okay. So to be able to show up and have the freedom to just deliver, what's on your heart, what your audience needs, and have the most impact is amazing. And this is so, and let me just say this, Peggy, I have to talk about this part too, because I'm not the wing it person. I'm not the wing it girl. Okay.
Yeah.
So my superstars have heard me say that like forever. I am not the wing it person. So when Suzanne first said, we're going to call this program freestyle, I like, freestyle who? Freestyle what?
So agree. Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about, Willis? But then she says, no, here's the beauty in this. The beauty in this is the structure allows you to be free. So it's not that you're shooting from the hip and you just say what comes to the top of your head, and you're off on a tangent. Exactly what you are bringing your audience to, but you just have the freedom to do it in different ways that's engaging. And so I love that. So we call it freestyle. I don't want anyone out there to mistake when we say freestyle means that we're saying go out there and shoot from the hip and just go on a Wild West journey. That's not what
I
we're
gotta
talking about.
admit, that was my first impression, which actually I postponed get joining this program for that reason, because I
Mm,
am not a wing it type person. Like I said before, I'm trying to memorize my 45-minute speech. Then the night before, I'm like, oh, forget it. I just can't do it. I actually almost called Letha and said, I can't do it. But I was too embarrassed to have to admit I don't know my
mm,
speech.
yeah. But
And
she did know it.
I did, because like
Yeah.
I know my story and I knew the structure, so I knew that I could do this. But the freestyle was the not the shoot from the hip,
Mm,
the or give the memorized speech, but the freedom to play within the structure.
yeah.
So I got to have fun with it. So that's what freestyle means, is let's have fun with it.
Let's have
And it's like,
fun
oh,
with
that's a whole new concept as far as I'm concerned. One
it.
that I ended up really enjoying. And I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to playing with it now.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. And that's what it's really about, because I've also adopted the phrase too, like if it's not fun, then it's not worth doing. So whatever it is we do, we have to enjoy doing it. So I see that Charette is out there this morning. Great morning, Charette. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining. And then also Tracy Robinson is out there this morning. Great morning, Tracy. Thank you so much for tuning in, ladies. Please go ahead and drop in the comment section who you serve, how you serve, and how we can connect with you. Please remember, I do go back and I check out profiles. Okay, so please let us know how we could connect. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and we alluded to it a little bit in the beginning, is the most overlooked opportunity for new speakers. And so one of the things, even for me, I have to admit this. So this is what the picture looked like for me before. So I would have the opportunity or be asked to speak, right? And then a couple of things are going on in my mind, Peggy. Number one, I felt as if every time I had a opportunity to speak, and let me just put it this way. For the longest while, I refused to call myself a speaker. So let's just say that, right? So that just goes to show everyone where I'm coming from. Okay. So you cannot get me to put that word, next to my name, across my name, beside my name, below my name, nothing. Right. And I think I found comfort in telling myself, well, I'm a trainer. That's what I do. So let's just go ahead and let's stick to, the data. Let's stick to the facts here. Let's stick to the tools, the gadgets, the widgets, the gadgets. And that's what I'll do. I'll train you, on that. Being able to share, a story was very difficult for me, because I was that person who knew that I had a lot to share, But the question for me was, what do I share and how do I share it so that I'll be seen as the expert and not the person out there who's just made a mess. Okay, because sometimes that's what happens, right? They
Right.
say your message is found in your mess, but sometimes, when we open up our mouth, all people see is the mess. They really don't get the message. So I'm
Yes.
just like,
That's the
okay,
before picture.
yeah, yeah. So how do you do this? And so for me, I shied away from a lot of speaking engagements. So I was that person who hid, and definitely was not the person that you could call, on a last minute. And when I say last minute, I'm telling you, do not call me 90 days, and say you need to speak under 90 days, because it probably not happening, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, I keep telling myself, I need more, I need the time, I need the time. And what I found myself doing is every time I had a speaking opportunity, I would go through this crazy thing of writing like new stuff like all the time. That's because I wasn't confident. Okay, so that's the first thing. So definitely, number one, getting clear on my story has helped. Okay, so now that that I know exactly what the brand story is, and the lessons that are in the brand story makes me excited to share. So that's the first thing. But what I also know is that this thing about practice, this is the crux of this conversation today. A lot of times, especially new speakers, we don't give ourselves the opportunity to practice. So I've seen quite a few things. I've seen big stages, you know, go away in this era of COVID.
Mhm.
And then a lot of people who had the opportunity to speak on live stages, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have an opportunity to speak. And so therefore they had no opportunity to practice. So I'm here to ask our superstars, how do you stay in practice around your speaking? Because this is, like I said, one of the most overlooked things. And unfortunately, when we do get the speaking opportunity, that's when we show up in practice, when we should be showing up as the professional.
Mhm.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about our practice community that we've created with our freestyle program, but or Unleash the Power of Your Story program. But I wanted to also let our superstars know that there are other opportunities. Like we have platforms, such as the platform that we're on here now. So being able to just turn on your camera and do a Facebook Live or host a webinar, or even do a podcast. Those are opportunities for us, to stay in practice and sharpen our skills, if we're not creating our opportunities on our own, while you wait for other people to invite you to their stage, these are some of the things that you should be doing. Okay.
Yeah, I am actually surprised. That's exactly right because I had the opportunity within the group to practice
Mhm.
to learn the different verbiage that I think will work and find sometimes that it doesn't work. And I get the
Mhm.
feedback from that. And then it's given me the courage to try a Facebook Live.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, I'm getting asked to speak on a podcast. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh my, this really works.
Yeah.
Just practice.
Yeah.
Because I found that I want to play with the talk because following the exact same structure doesn't always fit
Yeah.
every audience.
Yeah.
So, and the beauty of this group is I have Suzanne Hart and you, Taria, to give me the tips that I need to improve. The other people in the group also gave feedback, which tells me how is my audience seeing this?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's a wonderful opportunity to practice, play with the verbiage and all of that, to hone it down with the drilling and rehearsing it to see how does it land with the different types of audiences.
Yeah.
And so I learned what works with different types of audiences.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's exciting.
Yeah, different audiences, different platforms, and like I said, this is the thing about practice. You'll be able to, be able to have your talk for a live stage. If you're doing virtual things, like I said, if you're invited to speak, on Zoom platforms, Facebook Lives, podcasts. One of the things that stood out for me also is being able to use the same structure and do a 20-minute speech, a 45-minute talk, a 10-minute talk. Okay. And I understood the power of the structure when I started getting these 10-minute opportunities. So I do a lot of virtual networking. Okay. And a lot of times the virtual networking is only like an hour. You got 60 minutes. So yeah, they don't got time for you to be on there like with a 45-minute talk. They're like, look, what you got, okay, that you could share with our audience, our network, okay, and you could do that in 10 minutes. Now, here's what I know. Information alone isn't going to get it. So how do I build relatedness, connectivity, engagement, and teach the lessons all in 10 minutes? The structure gives me the opportunity to do that, but it's also the ability to practice to do that. Okay, so I've seen, people struggle with the 45-minute keynote, like they're over. Yeah, 45 minutes, you still go over your keynote. You got 10 minutes, like you're either way over on the 10 minutes or you're way under. Because in your mind, you're thinking like what, and here's the thing, like when you write it out, you think, oh, this is 10 minutes worth of content until you actually speak it out. And then it's just like, oh no, that's 3 minutes worth of content. I
Yeah.
got all 7 minutes left to go. Like, what's going on here? So
Been
to
there, done that. I
yeah,
know.
so to be able to practice those things. And so I wanted to share with our superstars that you have to give yourself the opportunity to practice. And so I'm just going to say, if you know that this is the next step, please, the first step is to take a minute to register for our Magnetize and Monetize a Virtual Stage training. I'm going to put the link back up on the screen. That's the first step. But if any of you who would like to have, a personal call, inbox me, let me know, and then we could talk about it. So I see that we have a few comments out here. Charette is saying, repetitive practice in various groups with feedback is very helpful. Yes, and Charette, this is what I call social listening. And so I talk about it all the time because I see people doing it all the time, that they have an idea, of a program that they want to do, something that they want to launch, and they go ahead and they launch, the idea from the head, but they have not given their audience the opportunity to give the feedback, to let the audience know if this is something I want, or can you include this because this is what I really need. Okay. So yes, being able to have feedback, that's what I call social listening, is very important. And then Charette is also saying practice doesn't make perfect, it makes better. So practice, practice, practice. Thank you so much for that, Charette, because there's a quote, I can't remember it right now, so I won't even try to butcher somebody else's quote. But thank you so much for that. And great morning, Barbara. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining. I see we have Barbara and we have Diana out there, two of our freestyle students. So do me a favor, Diana and Barbara, just in the comment section, drop what the program has meant for you and how it has allowed you, to shift in your business, just being able to just come through it and having that safe space for you to practice. So Peggy, I can't believe like how fast, every Saturday I say this, like how fast time flies when doing social media Saturdays. It seemed like We just sat down. But I'm going to give you the opportunity to share any last minute words that you have for our superstars, and then also tell our superstars how they can connect with you.
Okay, one last thing I want to say is this program has been so worth it. I don't even recognize my own self. I find it changed other areas of my life as well. Because I've gained confidence in the speaking, I've gained confidence in myself, which is
Mm.
translated to other areas of life. And you can reach me at PeggyDunnCoaching.com, where you can answer a few questions and find out if you struggle with emotional eating and how we can connect to overcome that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for that, Peggy. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to drop the link to the webinar in the, yeah, yeah.
It's well worth it.
And then, Peggy, after the video, I'm going to ask you that you go back into the comments and just type into the comments where people could connect with you after the video is done. Okay. So, once
Okay.
again, superstars, thank you so much for tuning in to another amazing episode of Social Media Saturdays. At least I thought it was amazing. Please remember to connect with us during the week in our Serve, Share, Shine, the Givers community. If you are not a member of our community, just go ahead, knock on the door, and we will let you in. Also, you can stay connected with Social Media Saturdays. We are on, where are we? We're on Instagram. So you could find me on Instagram at Taria Hodge. You could catch all of our videos on our Facebook business page. You could also catch them on YouTube. And for all of my LinkedIn peeps out there who are on LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn as my name, Taria Hodge. Thank you once again. And I see that Barbara's out there saying the program has allowed me to use my knowledge and experience to use a structure to speak. The support is awesome. So thank you so much for that, Barbara, for putting that in there. And take care, superstars. Until next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.